Hello and welcome to another episode of Glorious Golden State Gaming. I'm your host Swamp Swimmer, and with me today is Henry. Henry's back. He did a few battle reports with us a little while ago, and we have something very important to talk about today. The new supplemental book dropped for the Daemon Legions, and it's called the Legions of Sin, but it's really the Mono Sin book, right?
Yeah, you figured who best to talk about sin than no, yeah, happy to be back.
No, I was gonna say Henry of Paired Weapons podcast fame.
Yeah, secret host of that podcast.
I keep listening to that podcast and I keep hearing your voice. I'm like, man, Henry's getting around. They like him over there in England.
Yeah.
Well, today we're gonna do a complete book review. We're not gonna stop and talk about every single detail, but we're trying to hit everything. But yeah, so we'll be back in 1 second and be into the book review.
No one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts. This you can trust.
And we're back. Let's get right into it. This is the new supplemental supplemental book for Daemon Legions called Legions of Sin. Basically, this is the book I think the Daemon Legion community has been asking for a long time, right?
Yeah, it's really like seven books in one book, which is kind of an interesting way to design it. So they're a lot shallower than the other supplemental books, but build your own supplemental book.
Yeah, it's basically 7 books in one. It's if you want to have all, and I think it's great because this is scratching the themey itch that a lot of players have. Like, I want to run an all Wrath list, and I think that's cool. It's interesting, and this is the book for you. So it's like I'm really excited for the community to have this too, and we'll see how it shakes out balance wise, but it's pretty exciting.
And it's great for the boomer players who remember 7th and 8th demons and warriors, where you have, and it's a lot easier to do with 4 gods. And now that we're at 7 gods, it felt kind of hard, but this does a nice way of, like, when we get into it, you'll see it like streamlines it down to kind of back to 4 gods, but it's still 7 gods themed.
Yeah, gotcha. Let's just get into the army specific rules. The first one here, Legions of Sin. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but this is basically describing how the book works, right? There's new manifestations, and all the entries in the army list are existing entries in Daemon Legions, but they might have different manifestation options. So it's basically it's a mix up of it's a kit bash of the Daemon Legion army book.
Some of the core gets access to new manifestations, but it's only going to be from whatever god and then the standards, rather than there are 2 or 3 patron gods for each core unit.
Wages of Sin. This is I don't know if this is in the existing Daemon Legion book, because so normally in Daemon Legions everyone gets an additional 2 void tokens, right?
Yeah. So this is instead, you make an offer to your opponent to get for them to get the extra 2 Veil tokens, but now you actually get something out of it, which is kind of an interesting trade-off rather than everyone gets 2. Now, as far as I can understand, you don't get the 2, but you do get something else.
Yeah, which we'll get to. We'll get into in a second here. But my question is, we'll get in this later. Is this on top of the normal 2 void tokens for both sides?
No, I don't think so. I think that rule's gone from this book. So the normal demon rule of +2/+2 is gone.
So just your opponent, but you get something, and we'll get to it in a second. Descent into Sin. Let's see if I can. Descent into Sin. This is, I don't know if you wanted to describe this. This is basically, there's a sin token counter, which is the way you get, and there's multiple ways of getting sin tokens, and more sin tokens you get, the stronger the army gets, or bonuses that the whole army gets, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it's looking at kind of a large flow chart that comes a bit below, but the question seems to be asked. Yeah, Orison tokens were kind of complicated, but could we do more? And you get Descent into Sin, which is a really cool idea, actually, of kind of the more you face this army that's completely dedicated to one sin, the more outlandish and kind of down the rabbit hole you get as the game goes on.
I do like that, yeah.
It's a cool idea.
It's a cool idea. So you basically can get sin tokens in one of three ways. The first two apply to all of the different sins, and then the third way changes depending on which sin you're building your army in, which of the gods, which of the deadly sins. But the first one that triggers this is what we just talked about, which was the wages of sin. So this,
so if your opponent takes your deal, takes the two veil tokens,
you get one sin token, which you're right, it is a great mechanic. It's tempting to the opponent, which is very themey and very fun.
Yeah, it's hard to get a dwarf to go down the path of sin, I guess, but anyone else.
The second way to get a sin token is at the start of any melee phase, one or more friendly models with the Greater Dominion, so your big demons, Greater Dominion, are in base contact with an enemy unit. So basically, if they're in combat, that makes sense to you. Yeah. So it accelerates if your big guy's killing people.
And I still think the rule's there that the general can pass out the Greater Dominion to a unit at the start of the turn, so you have that that kind of way to get sin tokens, even if your general isn't fighting.
So it's really encouraging just the whole army in general to get into combat.
Yeah. And then there's the god-specific ones, which are some of them seem really easy, and some of them seem a bit tougher to get a sin token.
So envy, let's go through them real quickly. The envy is just anytime a model is removed, take one sin token for each of the following criteria met by the model. It's a character, towering presence, or a banner. Banner enchantment, a banner enchantment.
And this is for either side, so friend or foe. So if they kill your character, who's also a towering character, you're going to get 2 sin tokens. But if you kill like their BSV,
no, it's just one. I think it's capped at 1, and it says whenever a model is removed, add 1 sin token for each of the following criteria. No, you're wrong. I'm right. I'm wrong. You're right. So if you theoretically killed a character that was towering presence that had a banner enchantment, you get 3 tokens right there.
Yep. So it's kind of cool. It like motivates you to go character hunting, but also it's a little less punishing when your greater demon dies. You still get something out of the deal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's see, Gluttony, add 2 sin tokens at the end of the melee phase in which 1 or more units have been removed as casualties. So this includes seeding single models, right?
It includes single models. It has to be in the melee phase, which is kind of important. You can't like blast them off. But it does seem to, at least in my brain, gear Gluttony towards MSU.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like if they blow up your 10-pack of Lemurs, you're picking up 2 Sin tokens. And it's weird because some of the gods get 2 Sin tokens and some get 1 to do their little trick. But Gluttony, you get 2. So
yeah,
having little pieces of chaff that just get to die is actually good for you.
I agree. I really agree. Okay, Greed. Add 1 Sin token at the end of the Siphon the Veil. The active player saves 3 or more Veil tokens. So this you can easily just do.
And the really cool thing with Greed is it combos with Wages of Sin. So because it's the active player, so you're like, well, I'll give you 2 more Veil tokens. But if they take the 2, you get a Sin token. And then when they store 3, because you gave them 2, you get a Sin token. So Greed is one of the ones that seems really easy to just combo through Sin tokens, because you're always going to save 3 for the most part.
Yeah.
And since you're giving them Veil tokens, they're going to save 3.
I mean, if you're playing a good opponent, they'd only save 1 or 2, but, you know, that's interesting, yeah. All right, Lust. Add 1 Sin token at the start of any melee phase for each unit that is engaged with the flank or rear. Yeah, see, this one seems like it's not going to happen as often, right?
So Lust is weird because when you read it, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen very often, but the Lust special rules, when we get to their list, are a lot about being light troops and having feigned flight and all these kind of deals where you can engineer this pretty quickly, and it's for each unit. So if you have 2 units charging a flank or a rear, you're going to pick up 2. And also, they're the ones with the courtesan, so you do have a move 9 Swift Stride, Greater Demon.
Good point.
But this one does feel a little win more. Like if you're in their flank or their rear, the Sin token's just probably going to be icing on the cake of the fact that you're winning that combat.
Yeah.
Then we move on to the one that is truly just never going to come up.
Pride. Add 1 Sin token whenever a model fighting in a duel is removed as a casualty. I mean, duels happen in a fair amount in a game, but not every turn like all these other triggers. You know what I mean?
It also seems weird that like Gluttony gets to have 2 Sin tokens for something that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Where Pride just gets 1 for something that, for the most part, is optional. Like their champion just doesn't have to take your challenge if you don't get the Sin token.
Yeah, it's easily blockable. I don't know. All right, Sloth. Add 1 Sin token at the end of any magic phase in which at least 3 non-attribute spells are successfully cast.
So the big thing to know about Sloth is the attribute for demons is, that's the hereditary, not the attribute. So they're demons, so they have Spear of Infinity as their spell. So Sloth is actually pretty easy to set up, I think. But
doesn't that pigeonhole you into spells. Yeah, isn't that pigeonhole you into just one dicing spears all over your army?
Well, when we get to the Sloth chart, you'll see that that's what Sloth wants you to do anyway, is just spam Spear of Infinity.
Okay. So, doesn't sound very slothy, but okay, I'll accept it. Wrath. Add 2 Sin tokens to end of any charge phase in which at least 3 units declare a charge.
So this, I think I'm going to find out this weekend that Josh Gurn was on the design team for the Sin book. And he's just like, oh yeah, well, if I declare all the charges, I get Sin tokens. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, a lot of these I think are pushing the army toward MSU. I think you're really agree with that, especially this Wrath one. We'll see how this turns out. There's a lot more rules to get through, so this is just the kind of the way the Sin tokens accelerate. But as we said, let's talk about what you get for these Sin tokens. Okay, so this is where I'm confused. It says 0 to 1 Sin tokens in the Sin token pool do not have any effects. If there are 2 or more Sin tokens, regardless of the Legion of Sin, The owner of the Legion of Sin army gains 2 Veil tokens to their Veil token pool at the start of each friendly to siphon the Veil phase. Subphase. So this means if you have more than one, if you have 2 or more Sin tokens, you're getting the automatic 2 Void tokens automatically.
Yeah, you're getting the demon rule then. You just have to jump through like 1.5 hoops to get the normal demon magic roll, but you still do get the extra Veil. You just don't start with it.
Yeah, so once you get above 2 Sin tokens, you can take you'll get the 2 Veil tokens, but you could also not give the wager the 2 tokens to your opponent, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't think the wager is no, the wager is the opponent's choice. They choose to accept or not. It's always offered.
You're right. It's always offered. You can't deny it. Interesting. So, go ahead. Sorry.
But it is a cool way to do the demon rule, where it's kind of funny because the first time your opponent accepts the 2 Veil tokens, as long as you don't have another Sin token, you're still not getting anything.
Yeah.
But so there's like a motivation for them not to accept it. But once you're above 2 Sin, I think you're always just supposed to take the Veil and just be like, yep, have another one.
Unless you're close to this threshold, and the 2 thresholds are 5 plus Sin tokens or 10 plus Sin tokens. I guess you can kind of manage it as an opponent, and you realize if you don't want to put them over the edge if you don't have to.
Yeah, and then the one last little bit about being at 2 plus Sin tokens is you do get the other demon rule, which is if you're throwing 1 or 2 dice, you're at +1 to cast.
The classic demon rule, yeah. It's interesting. So if you're at 0-1, it's kind of like you need to get charged. You're like a weaker version of a demon list when you have only 0 or 1 Sin tokens. It's interesting.
Yeah, but when you start hitting the thresholds, as you were saying, the ball really starts to get rolling. The thresholds are breaking down into gods again.
So let's jump right into it. On Envy, I'm gonna read both the thresholds and then we'll talk about it. So if you're at 5 plus Sin tokens, close combat attacks allocated toward characters and models with towering presence gain battle focus, so extra hits. And then 10 plus, all units get mirrored scales, and mirrored scales.
These the ones go back at.
Once get
to hit you, go back.
And the crazy part of this is your whole army. All
units. The whole picks up the special roll.
Wait, it just says all units. Does that mean the enemy gets it also?
No, I think that the Sin and the giant Legion of Sin explanation rules.
Okay, it just
believe that covers who gets Sin tokens and who doesn't.
Okay.
Because there's also a thing about if for some reason you're playing a mirror match, the Sin tokens don't stack. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, when you play that Legion of Sin mirror at a tournament or
like that's gonna happen, but yeah. So battle focus and then mirrored scales. Battle focus against characters. So this is Envy killing characters. When you get, I feel like getting to 5 plus Sin tokens is going to be not too crazy of a feat in a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Envy is the one that wants you to go after characters and big things. So you're already being rewarded to do that.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that one's pretty easy.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go on to Gluttony. On a 5 plus, you charge range rolls against units with fewer health points than the charging unit are subject to maximize rolls on the charge phase. So you basically get Swift Stride against stuff with fewer health than you.
Well, so demons already have Swift Stride, so now you get four fists.
Oh, double Swift Stride. Okay.
Yeah, as long as you're punching down.
Yeah. And then on a 10 plus, all units get Frenzy, so a lot of Frenzy checks when you get to this point. And then you all get Broodmother, which is when you do a certain amount of wounds, you get wounds, you heal wounds.
I believe that's the Broodmother one. Yeah, it was three wounds. You get wounds back.
You raise, not heal. Raise D3 wounds if you caused at least 3 health points. If you caused at least 3 wounds.
So Gluttony is just about making charges on smaller units. Gluttony's whole deal is blowing up units dying in combat to get sin tokens. So this is, once again, the chart is really supporting the gods' way to actually generate tokens.
Let's go to Greed. A 5+ at the end of Siphon the Veil, players may store up to 6 void tokens instead of the normal 3. Before a model attempts to cast a spell, it may remove a veil token from its veil token pool. If so, apply Fizzle for the casting attempts with magic dice rolls 1 or 2. So it's just helping you on when you fail to cast a spell, you're getting more dice back, which is nice. And then Greed is the one about if you save 3+ veil tokens, you get a sin token, right? Is that the one? Yeah. And then on 10+, models with towering presence gain scoring. I think that's a simple rule, but can be very powerful.
Yeah, so the thing to know about all the sin lists is since they only have one greater demon associated with each sin, all the greater demons are O2. So your greater demons picking up scoring is pretty big.
That's a big thing, yeah, that's real big.
Especially because I think Greed's greater demon is... it's the Miser.
The Miser, yeah.
So, pretty hard to shift. If he's got scoring, he's going to be picking objectives up for you. That's not bad. That's gonna be an interesting mechanic at the end of the game on like hold the ground or like flags or something, and you're like, God, I gotta get to 10 void. I gotta get to 10 sin tokens for him to be scoring and get me the secondary kind of thing. That's gonna be really cool, I think. Well, it'll be funny on flags when he's about to die, and you're like, okay, I can't generate any more sin. You're like, yeah, convert all my veil tokens. I can't afford to have sin. Okay, let's go to Lust. 5+. The move distance for failed charge moves is 6 inches. So this is a debuff. This is a negative, right? It's weird because I've read this one a couple times. I wrote a list for this book that was a Lust list, and I'm unsure if it's a buff or a debuff, because since you're Swiss Stride and you have all these other bonuses to charge, you should be making those charges. So if you're going the 6, I think it's probably bad for you. Yeah, I think so too. But it does let you take riskier charges that don't have downsides. Yeah, true. Let's see here. And then on the 10+ is all units gain roaming hands, and I was just looking right now to try to find roaming hands. I don't remember what that one does. Do you have it, roaming hands? This is Lust. Lust, where are you? Roaming hands. In the flank or the rear. Yeah, if you're in the flank or rear, you get +1 strength, +1 AP. That's what. So that's pretty good on Succubi. Just kind of for free, but being in the flank of the rear, as we've kind of already said, is you're already doing well for yourself. So I don't know how much. I guess it's like on 10 sin. Like if you have the point of 10 sin, I feel like the game's pretty far along. Yeah. I mean, it just gives you help with like you want to build your army small and fast. You know, hellhounds
Furies. What's the fast cav guys?
Sirens.
Yeah, sirens, and just like throwing units in the backfield, in their backfield, and then trying to multiple charge flanks and rears everywhere in like turn 3, 4, 5. It's interesting.
Yeah, it really pushes you towards this super fast, aggressive play style, which I'm not sure you can take the punishment to support it, but it'll be interesting to see.
All right, Pride on the 5+, champions gain +1 health point to a maximum of 3. How can they get and +1 attack? How can they get another health point? I don't know. If it's a multi-part model, the attack value modifier only applies to the single model part without the harness from the rider, and champions may choose a model that suffers the penalties for refusing a duel. Oh, so they can be sent to the back, yeah.
I think the maximum of 3 is because Pride has access to the monstrous cav, so the champ can't go to 4.
Okay.
But once again, Pride seems at odds with itself because you want people to die in a challenge, and all of a sudden you're making your champion more durable. But I don't know.
I think you're imagining if this champion goes up against some big bad character, he's still dying. This is not affecting that. But then also if you end up with a champion on champion challenge, then you're gonna be better. I don't know.
Yeah, your Myrmidon champion is still T3 with a 5-up. He's still gonna die.
He's still gonna die. I mean,
I don't know. Pride seems. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the 10+, which is all units gain fearless and power stance. Do not know what power stance does. Pride, power stance, not there.
My question is, are they innately fearless? Doesn't being a demon make you fearless?
Does it?
Why? Because you can't choose to flee.
Pride? I don't know. Sirens. Dude, I can't find...
Power Stance is a new one in the Legion of Sin book.
Oh.
So we'll get to it. It's not a great... I think Pride is going to have to get looked at because I don't think any of his things actually work. So hopefully Pride will get fixed.
We'll get back to that
one. To be set up correctly.
Yeah. Sloth. On a 5+, the advance rate of all units is reduced by 1 and the march rate is reduced by 2. And on a 10+, all models ignore the missile and damage spell types for all spells when targeting units engaged in combat with the caster.
So I just did a little look-see, and as far as I can tell, you were right about Descent into Sin. It affects both armies.
Oh.
So this chart affects both players.
Whoa, that changes everything.
Yeah, it makes a few of them make a lot more sense. And it makes a few of them a lot worse. Because now all of a sudden Lusts makes a lot more sense. Move distances of failed charges are always 6. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But also, it makes so many things so weird.
That's very strange. So, like, these sloth special rules, I was reading through this earlier. These are not helpful. I mean, I guess you're slowing down your opponent while slowing yourself down. Fine, you're going to be shooting magic missiles off while your opponent's trying to get to you. Okay, seems okay. But this is preventing casters from casting into their own combat, right?
No, so all models ignore the missile and damage type spells for targeting enemy units, so it lets them cast into combat. It gets rid of.
Oh, interesting.
It gets rid of those restrictions. It also gets rid of arc of sight, I believe. It makes them all just.
Oh yeah, because missile is missile. You have to shoot in the front arc. Interesting. That's interesting. So, but it's only into combat that the wizard is in.
No.
It says here, all spells when targeting engaged in combat with the caster.
Oh, with the caster.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's basically. Yeah. It's basically saying. Oh god, yeah. It's basically saying the Sentinel. You don't want to get him in combat, but now with this manifestation up, or this the Sin token up, he's good in combat because he can run in, beat stuff up a little bit. He's not very good in combat, but then he can just blast.
Also, it lets you not get punished for spamming spear.
Yeah.
So like.
So if you got spear everywhere, everyone with spear can choose spear into their combat.
Yeah, because Sloth is the one that wants you to cast 3 spells, and if you're spamming spear, and then all of a sudden you're stuck in combat, you don't have phase anymore.
Yeah.
Sloth's a weird one. I can see it being pretty frustrating. Also, I think it's the only movement cap in the game that doesn't stop at 3, so it's going to drop dwarves down to move 2.
Cool. Poor dwarves. Actually, you know what? I'm not sad about that. I hate dwarves.
It just means they'll shoot you more.
All right, let's move on to Wrath, the last one. 5+, the first failed charge range roll in each charge phase must be rerolled. So yeah, it's promoting charging. Makes sense. 10+.
The weird thing is, it's the first fail, so it makes your charge orders really matter.
True, very true.
If you need to charge a unit to get out of the way of another unit, but the second unit fails, that's not the one you're going to get to reroll. It's the first unit that failed.
It makes chaffing, yeah. If you block yourself up, like you said, you need to charge someone out to get them out of the way for the real charge. Helps that out. I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like you can just go for a long bomb charge with a piece of chaff that's in front of your hammer, you know. But on a 10+, all units gain red haze, and I do not know what red haze is.
Red haze is +1 strength, +1 AP, but ones hit yourself.
Oh god.
The fact that it applies to everybody is...
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Like this, like when you get to 10+ on almost all of the sins, it just changes the game. It changes the game for you and your opponent. Like, that's really interesting.
I keep reading through it, and I expect to be like, these only apply to friendly, but I've not seen
for instance,
in the book.
For instance, greed, it says towering presence turn into scoring. What if you're up against a monster mash? What if you're up against a monster mash of Saurian Ancients or Beast Herds? Like, that's interesting.
Yeah. And the mirrored scales, I don't know, that it is very interesting. I hope I'm just missing it somewhere where it just says.
Well, let's go back up to the rules here. Unit profiles option given. All unit entries specified with their header is something. No, this is no descent into sin.
Yeah.
Where does it say it?
It doesn't. It just.
Yeah, it doesn't say it anywhere.
I think it's passing out universal rules, which is
fun.
Interesting. It makes Lost a lot better.
Yeah,
it makes Lost a lot better.
This is interesting. Is this too much of a turning the game on its head situation? Is it too much?
So I think this book actually does truly what it set out to do, which is gives the nostalgia demon players the nostalgia, because this chart actually really reminds me of the old 8th Realm of Chaos table now, where it's like, oh, it affects both of us, and the effects are not good. But I think it's really cool. I think this would be the one supplemental book, though, with how it's set up right now, that I'd be like, no, for tournaments. Like, you can bring cultists and Asplanders and Makar, but with just how much bookkeeping and explanation this book's asking you to do already.
Yeah, I mean, just like all the other supplemental books, no one knows what it's about until they face it on the table. So I'm not crazy. I guess you have to like set up some house rules. Like, you really have to explain to each one of your opponents what's going to happen when these sin tokens, build up.
Yeah, giving your opponents special rules is always a very slippery slope. If the rule is like mirrored scales, where now we both have to keep track of our ones. Yeah,
exactly.
In this combat is going to add time to our game.
I am all about the supplemental books, so I think we should throw this, head first into the tournament scene. But that's just me.
Hey, maybe I'll get it painted in time for a team tournament, and we'll see how many games I get finished.
All right, let's jump into the hereditary spells. The same. One thing to notice here in the Daemon Legion book, there's another army organization category, and that is the Aves, which are the flyers. That doesn't exist anymore in this book. And basically, depending on which sin you choose as your army, some of those Aves might be showing up in your special. So we'll see that.
Yep.
Let's see here. Let's start with Envy. First off, there's a new manifestation for every army, for every sin.
At least one. Yeah.
At least one. Yeah, true.
Some of the gods have two. Some of the gods just have one good one.
So this new one is Covetous Camouflage, which is basically give the unit ambush. And if it's a regular unit, you can't add more models on top. It has to be the lowest amount of models. Well, go ahead.
Oh no, that's what I was gonna say. It caps your unit size at your base size. But Envy's the one that wants to kill characters in Tower of Presence.
And then there's also for every greater demon, or the big demons, there's also an upgrade to make
greater demon.
Yeah, a greater demon upgrade. For the deceiver, it's +1 health point. In addition, the model may perform make way moves when it's in base contact with an enemy model. So this means you can get out of bad situations in combat?
Yes. So Envy gives you battle focus against characters and Tower and Presence. So this lets your characters in Tower and Presence get away from models that have battle focus now. So it lets the Deceiver run away from the combat.
Yeah, and also I just noticed right now, this is a 0 to 3 army choice.
Yeah, except the Exalted upgrade is one of a kind. So the big Greater Demon upgrade is one of a kind.
Yeah, so you could have one big Greater Demon and then 2 lesser Greater Demons, right?
No, so it's the Deceiver, so it's not even a Greater Demon. He's just a guy that 25 by 25.
Gotcha. Still, like you have 3 of these guys out, and don't even choose the Exalted of Envy. 3 blocks with 3 of these guys leading them, 3 Deceivers on the board. That's kind of crazy.
And this is the god that gets Darkhide as well. So you have Darkhide and Ambush, and then I guess just going quickly over. So every god has a Harbinger as well. So you have the one major demon and then a Harbinger. The core is Succubi and Imps. And then they have Mage Blight Gremlins, Eidolons, Quad Fiends, and Veil Serpents. So this army wants to go fast and not really grind a and wants to just chip away at you and be everywhere at once.
Yep, makes sense. Makes sense.
So, and it looks like imps and succubi can both take ambush, which as a beastman player, ambush core is great.
And so can eidolons.
Yeah. So, but eidolons can also scout.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So you're pretty happy. Like this army is just going to be everywhere at once, all at once, which is really cool.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Gluttony. So they get 2 new manifestations. Troll Blood. Basically, get a Fortitude save or a +1 to your Fortitude, and every time you roll a 6, you you heal a health point. Pretty self-explanatory.
It's the Hydra rule.
Yep. And you can combine this with Broodmother, and it's just like you'll be healing points really quick. And the other one is Expanding Bulk. The model loses Swift Stride if it have it, and gains the effect depending on its height. A standard height, it gets 1 stomp. On a large height, it gets 2 stomps. I think on top of a regular stomp. Sort of 3.
No, right? So I think it just replaces.
Okay.
So a large model would have access to Stomp 1 and Stomp 2.
Yep.
And then you just pick which one you want to make.
And then Gigantic gives you a D3 grind attack. That you can't
grind.
You can't grind Towering Presence.
Other big things.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's not amazing, but it's okay.
Losing Swift Stride, which is kind of the demon special rule, is unfortunate, but stomps are free. Like free hits. It's never a bad thing.
Every time you don't have to actually roll dice to do stuff, it's good. And let's see here. The greater Maw. The Maw.
Yeah.
The greater. Okay, I haven't read this one yet. So the model gains 1 of a kind, +1 health point. The roll for the number of hits on its stomp attacks are maximized. In addition, replace the rules for Devour with changes from the original version in bold. For each health point lost the model causes with close combat attacks against enemy units, roll a d6 at the end of the initiative step. For rolling a 4+, the model gains 1 health point. When the model reaches 20 health points or more, all units within 12 inches use 2d6 toxic hits. What was it before?
16.
Okay, so it's raising its cap.
No, sorry. It's 18 because it was 9 wounds before. So now it's a 10 wound space. So it's just double starting wounds.
Previously, it was when it gets to 18 wounds, it blows up 9 inches, and it had a range of 9 inches, but that's boosted to 12 inches. It blows up.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
I've played a lot of Maws in my life, and I've never had them explode. So plus 1 wound, pretty much making the Maw Big Brother, is pretty good. Definitely. I don't know if it's worth 70 points to make it a Big Brother, but it's pretty good.
It's interesting. And then the upgrade for the Harbinger is the Domain of Gluttony.
So the one cool thing to know about the Maw is the Maw, in addition to its Aegis save, does have a 5-up regen save, or Fortitude save. So with Troll Blood, you can get up to a 4-up Fortitude where the 6s heal you, which makes the Maw super sticky. Like, that's a really hard to kill model.
Yeah,
so
but
it's just healing.
The harder you make it to kill, the increases the odds of it blowing up, right?
You still gotta hit 4-ups to heal and all that. I think the Maw blowing up thing is like a wives' tale more than it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But
all right.
They have Lemurs and Myrmidons as core, so pretty decent core, but Myrmidons.
And the Lemurs get Troll Blood and Expanding Bulk, and the Myrmidons do not. The new manifestations.
But the Myrmidons do get Broodmother, which is really good for them. Healing your Myrmidons back up when they do wounds is pretty nice. They have bloatflies who do get troll blood.
Yeah.
So I think that puts them to a 4-up. It's pretty nasty.
And then Hellhounds, Clawed Fiends, and Veil Serpents. So they get 2 of the Aves units, the Veil Serpents and the Bloatflies, which is interesting.
And Clawed Fiends, which are pretty incredible. Just on their own. Like move 9 scoring is really good. No, yeah. Gluttony seems like one of the better ones for sure, as far as just upgrades and unit choices.
Yeah, I agree. But let's move on to Greed. There are 3 new manifestations here. Clutching Claws. When calculating a combat score, the side with one or more models manifestation, blah, 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 gets plus X to its combat score, where X... If he's in combat, the X is set to 0 at the start of each round of combat, other than the first round of combat. It's increased by 1. So the longer the combat goes, the more combat res this guy gets.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the Hoarder rule, where they get grinds. This one, they just get static res. But it's super good with the next manifestation, which is just when in base contact with an enemy and scoring, the model gets stubborn.
Well, in base contact with an enemy... Wow, so if you're in combat with a scoring unit, you're just stubborn.
Yep, and then if you have Clutching Claws on top of that, you're going to start just eventually winning the combat.
Woo. This just turns like any and this upgrade Coin for Eyes is just basically turns any unit into an anvil, right?
Yep. And then Chitinous Plates is just +2 armor to a maximum of 3, which is just Chitinous Scales. But it can be dominant, which Chitinous Scales couldn't be. And so it can apply to your unit.
Yep.
So you can get some 5-up action going on.
And let's see the Miser.
I just realized the Miser is still 01.
Oh boy. Oh, actually, I want to go back. I want to go back really quick. I didn't realize what the Maw was.
She's 02.
The Maw 02. Okay, cool. I didn't check that. So the Miser is still 01. Why would that be?
Because I think he can get Coins for Eyes and Clutching Claws.
He'll just never go away.
You can just torpedo him into a scoring unit and he'll stay there forever.
Oh my god! And then check out his Exalted of Greed. All weapon enchantments are ignored for as long as their bearer remains in contact with the model. He turns off weapon enchantments.
Oh, and he's the one who gets scoring.
Yep.
So that's why he's 01.
So this
all those things together.
All this makes him just unmovable. He is just unmovable.
Yep.
That's interesting. I think that's a what they were trying to go for with the Miser originally, but like making it this much even more unmovable makes him like a legit option. I think.
Yeah, I think this is actually enough of a combination to make him a viable model. The one scary bit is he's like, well, I shouldn't be saying this, but he's 1,100 points, and he does score though. He's really hard to kill. He's got like 8 wounds or something like that.
Oh my god!
Exalted.
All I know is if you run this guy, you got to have the coolest model I've ever seen in my life. Like covered in like armor and junk and stuff strapped to him and stuff like that.
I'm not a greed style player, so a big non-flying model. Though something to note, so the Harbinger has the same 4 lores for any of the gods, Div, Evo, Thalm, and Witchcraft. And I think this is the army where Witchcraft really shines, because Raven swinging the unmovable scoring Miser around the table is a very good way to win some games.
Yeah, true. Huh. Okay. In core, we got Succubi and Lemures.
The good thing to know about the Succubi is this is the god that gives them smothering coils. So +1 to hit, +1 to win against scoring.
That's pretty good.
Is what you want when you also have just the giant anvil target model as well. You need someone who can make room. And then they're also the god that has Hoarders and Furies. So you have Chaff and you have another anvil.
Man, Hoarders though. Hoarders in this list have got to be awesome.
Well, so the weird thing is Hoarders don't have mirrored scales for this one, so they're not bouncing to ones. But they do have coins for eyes as an option. So they can just get stubborn. So you have stubborn Hoarder darts. Which I think all those words set together is probably as abusable as it gets.
I just realized that. That's just mean. That is just mean.
And it's 03 per army, so yeah, that's pretty heinous. You're not winning a sportsmanship vote when you're playing the God of Greed.
Very true. All right, let's move on to Lust. 2 manifestations here. Unearthly Larynx? Larynx. The models in a dominant, so you can go to the whole unit, gains distracting first round of combat. Elusive, which is a siren rule, and feigned flight.
Elusive just lets them flee as if they weren't fearless.
Okay, yeah. Let's them flee.
And then they have Needle Teeth, which is the model, and it can be dominant. It's devastating charge, +1 attack, +1 AP.
That's good.
So Lust is the one I think is the best, though now I'm starting to come around on Greed. But so the Courtesan is O2 for them, and her exalted form is +1 health point, Vanguard, and +1 Aegis against range.
Okay.
So she's hard target, distracting already. She's moved 918, and you're giving her Vanguard and something to help her against range because you can't get to toughness 6 anymore because she does not have that manifestation. But that's a really fast model that can be anywhere it wants, and that lesson entire thing is charging flanks and rears.
Yeah,
and you have access to witchcraft and these very fast models that now can also pick up feign flight if they need it. It's
a
very
lot. That's a lot. I mean, but it just goes along with what they do well, and what they're trying to do well is fast strikes. So I don't think that's too good. Yeah.
I don't either, but I think it's one of those things that reading this specific list is there are certain players that I can think of who the people who've like played fast cap elves forever, where this is just a real weapon in their hands.
Yeah, true.
The core is Succubi and Myrmidons. Succubi can pick up Unearthly Larynx, which gives them the feign flight ability to flee, which is pretty good.
It's pretty good, and then they're rolling 6s if they fail the charge. It's like it's good.
Yep. And then you have the Threshing Engine, which is the big fast chariot, Sirens, which is the fast cab, Clawed Fiends. Clawed Fiends can't take Unearthly Larynx, sadly.
Oh.
Probably for the best. And then Furies, who also can't take Unearthly Larynx. So there has been some thought put into who can take the feign flight upgrade. But still, Furies, Clawed Fiends, Sirens. This army is like base move. Like base move 9.
All right, moving on to Pride. 2 manifestations here. Power Stance. This is the one that the whole army gets if you get to 10 Sin tokens. The model gains Stubborn, but it cannot benefit from rallying around the flag and inspiring presence. If the model unit fails a break test, the number of health points lost from unstable is doubled.
Yeah. So Power Stance is weird for a few reasons. One, because it gives them hitting their 10 gives both players Power Stance. The weird thing is so it removes rally around the flag and inspiring presence, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
That is good fearless. But the thing is I guess if you fail your break test when you're not stable, you're just going to run. So it's the same. But it's weird that Power Stance is worse for demons than it is for the person that's giving Power Stance to.
Is it worse for demons? I mean, it depends who you're up against, right? If you're up against some low leadership armies,
like rats,
yeah,
or something like that,
that can really break the rat mechanic, the leadership bubble. Does that mean also when Power Stance clicks on and you're against a VC army, does that mean like all like the marching units, their march bubble gets turned off?
Yeah, your march bubble goes to 0 with undead, which is probably a death kill. And also undead is the one person you're gonna keep killing their champion in challenge. So
yeah, that's interesting.
That's good for you.
That's interesting. That's interesting. All right, the other one is
Power Stance is actually kind of good because trolls and stuff too is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm coming around on it. I wasn't sold at first, but
yeah, I think it's definitely a conditional good on who you're facing, but it can be really game breaking at certain points. Yeah.
It's a bad rule that you want to give to your opponent as quickly as possible.
All right, Sigil of Supremacy. The models without harness always have offensive skill 7 and +1 attack value, and Rising Star. What is that? The Throne of Overwhelming Splendor Demon Armies Legion book.
Rising Star is.
That's on the
Throne of Rising Star. Each time the model attacks, or each time attacks by the model kills an enemy model in a duel, get +1 combat res for the rest of the game. So it's trophy rack.
Yeah.
Pride is very gimmicky. It's very cool, but
yeah.
Pride feels like the most garage game of all of these, where you're just like, I want to do challenges, I want to fight
Let's see, we got
their character is the Omen.
Yeah.
Who's the guy, if you've ever actually played against an Omen, he's super bad news in a challenge, and now that he's mono god, he's even worse. But he gets his Exalted is +1 health point, and his thing is you randomly determine his weapon skill and his attack value at the start of the round, and now it gets to be maximized.
Yeah, gives you a little more insurance on there, right?
Yeah, and it makes him, because the amount of times I've played against an Omen where he decides now is the good time to roll 1, and you kind of just count your lucky stars and get to survive against him, is a lot. So getting that upgrade. And he can take Sigil of Supremacy. So he's always at least on 7, and he can be better. Seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, that's a good point with Sigil of Supremacy, yeah. That's basically like the band-aid on the Omen is the Sigil of Supremacy, the fix-em.
Yeah. Pride has access to Succubi and Myrmidons, which are pretty good. Succubi get Bronze Backbone, which I believe is stubborn, or some kind of stubborn.
Keep going, I'll look it up. Bronze Backbone.
Or it might be Cold-Blooded. And then Pride is the one who gets Blazing Glories, which makes sense. Hellhounds, Titan Slayer, Chariot, and Furies. So it hits like a ton of bricks, but it wants to fight your characters. It's pretty much what this army's about.
Bronze backbone is hatred.
Oh. Yeah.
So succubi with hatred.
And then Haunted Hubris was the other one. That's the 6-inch Vanguard, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Yeah, no, it's pretty good. Yeah, Blazing Glory gets bumped up to 03 for Pride.
Oh,
which
boy.
Is kind of just good enough on its own.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I agree with that. Blazing Glories are so annoying.
Oh, and Blazing Glories can get Power Stance, which is actually really obnoxious. Them being stubborn.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Pride may be gimmicky, but it has a really strong gimmick.
It's got some good gimmicks. It's gimmicky, but it's got great gimmicks. Okay. Oh man. Okay. Sloth. Soporific secretions. While engaged in close combat, at the end of each round of combat, the model's unit and all their units in base contact with one or more models of this manifestation suffer -1 strength and -1 AP. The effect lasts until the end of next turn. So just protecting yourself.
Yeah. That seems really good for Lemurs, which I'm gonna guess is one of the core choices.
And then Lance of Lethargy is if the bear is not a wizard, it becomes an apprentice and gets Spear of Infinity. If it is a wizard, it knows Spear of Infinity in addition to any other spells, it cannot be selected and cannot select it during the spell selection. In addition, this is for both, Evil Eye, which is the witchcraft, the -1 movement, becomes the attribute for Spear of Affinity. Yeah.
That's really strong.
But it's just on this upgrade, right? So the other upgrade to get Spear. Yeah. So but we can multiply this out. So this can be on every spear in the army, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Though it's kind of looking like Lance is costed appropriately throughout the.
And then the big Sentinel.
The chicken.
When selecting spells, the model knows all the spells from the chosen path, and you can exchange one out for the hereditary spell. Yeah. For 120 points, I don't think that's worth it.
But Div, Evo, Thalm, and Witchcraft, like, all of those are pretty strong lores to know everything. Though I'm not sure why the Sentinel is O2. Because if you're making one the Exalted, I'm not sure you're needing it.
Yeah.
Needing to have the second one.
I don't think you need the second one yet.
I think it's pretty good just because it knows Evo and Thalm. Like, knowing all the spells from both those give you a pretty flexible phase, especially with Spear. And also, thing to note about Sloth is it's the one that wants you to cast 3 spells.
Yes.
So having access to all the spells makes it way less of a points investment.
Yeah, true. Let's see here. 4, we got Lemures and Imps. And Lemures
can take the Lance.
Yep. So you can bust that out in an army. You can get so many spears in this army. Jeez.
Yeah. And there's a cap on how many imps can be in the army, which is 50. But there's no cap on how many imp units you can have.
So in theory, you could have 5 spears from core.
Yep, and imps with the Lance, Musician, and Champion is 255, which is exact perfect core or near, like just 5 units of 10 imps with Muso, Champ, and Lethargy is I believe, exacting core. Oh, and their core is only 20%, so you don't even need the 5th unit. You just got 4.
Wow.
You're happy.
That's pretty good. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
They got Eidolons. They've got Hope Harvester, Veil Serpents, and the Titan Slayer.
Yep.
Sporific.
So nothing that really can fight, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You really are just there to blast them.
Yeah, this is the straight up range damage list, right?
Yeah, it's a gun line that's not a gun line.
And
don't
instead
actually know
and the interesting is like
you'll be able to afford it.
This is a gun line that doesn't rely on chaff. This is a gun line that relies on magically slowing down the opponent. That's interesting.
Yeah, you have all those evil eyes, and you have the first step on the sin chart, which is drop their movement by 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the god that's going to have the highest learning curve on how you're supposed to deploy, because I think you can lose a game just not getting up to the 5th sin marker in time.
Yeah, you gotta do that quick. Interesting. And I think the last one's Wrath, the Scourge. Okay, they got 3 manifestations. I haven't read this at all yet, so this is brand new to me. You get to reroll to wound rolls of 1. Pretty good. And
close combat
and impact hits. The second one is Explosive Organs. I love that name. But it's only capped at 40 models in your army. When a rank and file model with this removed as a casualty as a result of a melee attack, it immediately inflicts 1 strength 3 AP 1 magical hit. No magical attack against the
it's
characters.
Kind of like You're Coming With Me.
Yeah.
It makes them kind of like Slayers.
And this is interesting. The last line here: characters that have this upgrade inflict 2d6 hits. 2d6 strength 3 AP 1. That's interesting. That's super interesting. And the last one is
Sledgehammer Hand is just +1 attack. It's the same as Hammer Hand in the Demon book, but Sledgehammer Hand can be dominant. Hammer Hand could not.
Gives it all, interesting. And let's see what they did to the Scourge.
So the most important thing is he's O2.
Yeah. How many double Scourge lists are we going to see?
And the thing to remember with Rat is it's the I want to charge with 3 or more units in a turn to get Sin. So I think every list that's Wrath is supposed to start off at 2 Scourge and just gas pedal the rest of your way through.
But I want to read the special rule. When the model
the Scourge's
reaches,
one is weird.
when it dies at 0 health points, remove it as a casualty and initiative 0. If so, the model does not benefit from rage and cannot use stomp attacks. Remove it and it must allocate its close combat attacks toward the health pool of the model. If models for more than 1 health are involved, the close combat attacks must be allocated. I don't understand what this means.
So I think this one is actually bad, but what it is so the Scourge's agility is 0 base. But it has rage, so its whole thing is it wants to survive at the end of the combat. This makes it so it's like a Forsaken one, where when it dies, not move.
This is the Flagellant rule.
Yeah. But the weird thing is it doesn't benefit from rage, so it only has like 5 attacks. Because it's not getting all those bonuses to attack. So I think this one is just bad. And you have to swing at the models that killed you. So like there's no, I can't see a reason to be taking this, especially for 100 points. Or just +1 wound, because +1 wound on a rage model is really good, but this makes you ignore your rage.
Interesting.
So I don't see a major point to taking Exalted.
Yeah, I think you just the choice for the Wrath list is double regular size Scourges, 2 regular size Scourges.
Yeah.
In core, they've got imps and myrmidons.
Imps is a weird choice.
Yeah.
I think.
I guess
imps do have explosive organs, so maybe I don't know why you'd ever take imps over myrmidons.
Yeah, true.
Especially because Wrath's thing is giving everyone red haze, so you want to be in combat pushing out attacks.
Yeah.
The thing is I don't think red haze stacks, so I'm not sure I'd purchase the red haze upgrade for anyone, just because I'm not sure it's worth that initial investment.
Does it stack? I don't know.
I couldn't imagine it would, because you're getting the same rule, right?
Yeah, it is the exact same rule.
Let's see if the chart covers this. Let's see if some clever European figured this out before I even asked the question. All units gain red haze. So.
No, I don't think it stacks. I don't think it
stacks. I don't think it would stack.
All right, in special, they've got Hellhounds, of course. They got Brazen Beasts, of course. Furies, and a Titan Slayer Chariot.
So, yeah, Brazen Beasts are incredible. Getting Furies is really good, just with the fact that you want to be declaring charges. They don't have to be successful charges.
Mm-hmm.
And Furies are move 9.
Yeah, so you can just sit them in the back and always throw in that third charge, and you're getting Sin tokens, yeah.
And also, Furies have explosive organs, which is actually the unit you want to take it on. Because you chap them up and you're like, well, I'm still going to get some hits. I'm still going to do some damage. Is the model. I wonder if Sledgehammer Hand gives the mount an extra. Because it says the model. So I assume it's the mount and the rider, which makes Brazen Beasts pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For being able to take Sledgehammer Hand. So it is 24 points a model for +2 attacks.
Still, +2 attacks is pretty freaking good.
I don't know. This one seems really strong, just under the supervision of Double Scourge. One's bad enough, but 2 is a lot. I do love that the Scourge can take explosive organs, which seems like a choice. You're like, yeah, my Scourge didn't kill you, but watch out for 2d6, strength 3, AP1 hits. I'll get you.
But were they hits or attacks? I can't remember.
They're attacks, but they're set at strength 3.
But no, you have to roll the hit. And maybe no, it's a hit. I'm sorry, one hit. You don't have to roll the hit. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. Huh. Man. Wrath seems really fun.
It does seem fun. It does seem fun. So that's all of the all the different lists. Anything after this? I don't think so. No, not after this. That's everything.
Deep enough into sin that they don't need to add something after.
So you said you did a little investigating with list building. We don't need to share your list, but what were you able to pack into one list that's exciting?
So I worked. My demon army is built around lust. All my models are old school Slanesh models. So I was working on double courtesan with MSU succubi units that were Fane Flight, and then relying on a few units of block fiends, and just trying to apply as much movement pressure as possible. But kind of after going through this review, Greed just seems
Greed seems really good. That's what I was thinking. I mean, I think when we're going for a mono sin list, I want to be themey. I want to be I really like the theme of Sloth. I think it's the dark god that doesn't make any connection to other dark gods from 8th edition or anything like that.
Yeah,
I like the idea of like
it's in the middle of 3.
Yeah, I think it's super spear spam is going to be really cool. I think I'd try to run that list.
So Sloth's weird because it feels like you're just trying to play dwarves. But all you own are demon models, and you're like, well, play Sloth. Really, the only ones that didn't jump off the page as I would definitely give this a shot are Gluttony and Pride.
Mm-hmm.
Pride, I think, is only being stood up by the fact that you can take 3 Blazing Glories. And then Gluttony.
I think Gluttony. Really cool. I think Gluttony is going to be awesome when you get to the 10 sin tokens, and then every model on the board is like affected by the Dark God of Gluttony, and it's just like consume. Everyone wants to consume each other because that's the one that gets Frenzy. Let me see here.
Yeah, Frenzy and Broodmother.
Yeah, so everyone wants to eat. Charge. Yeah, everyone wants to eat each other, and everyone's like becoming stronger because they're eating flesh. Like, I think that's super themey, super fun. I would run Gluttony, I think, also.
Yeah, no, I think this book, when I was first reading through it, I wasn't too keen, but actually talking it out and going over this again, I think this book is really a really fun design. I'd have to get Demons back up to painting snuff because they're not there right now. But I would put this on the table and push this around. I think it'd be pretty cool. I think there are definitely some standouts, but I think everything is really cool, and I really like just giving a nod to all players who wanted to do mono sin, because for both warriors and demons, it's really hard to do mono sin, and demons even more so. And there are so many beautiful armies that are painted for the old mono god lists that just kind of have to make do with the fact that you need to play this model. And also, who doesn't want to put 2 Scourges on the table, right? Like,
yeah, 2 Scourges on the table.
Scourge.
So,
Double Scourge is a fun tournament army right there.
Final question, having gone through everything, first of all, I want to say I think this book is fantastic. It's scratching both the itch of like there's exploitable rules in there for the hardcore gamer, and there's also it's really scratching that themey fun mono, like choosing fluffy list, but it's not fluffy. It's the themey list, and I think that's a big scratch for me. For that, I love getting love getting scratched. So I really like this book. But let's go back to the initial question: should this be allowed in tournaments? Because most tournaments I've been going to have been allowing all of the supplemental books, including the supplemental giants.
So my main thing is if you can convey the chart quickly, or even just maybe having tokens for your god, right? So you have like 10 printed out tokens that say mirrored scales, and you can just put them on units when you hit that sin marker. I wouldn't have a problem with this. I think this is the book that walks the line the most. Its rules affect both players, and it has a mini game going on.
Mm-hmm.
And all those things add time. But I think this book asks a lot of the player playing it. Can you explain what's going on?
I agree with that.
It's the same fashion. But I don't think this book is any more confusing than the first time you play against the Rat book.
True. I think you make a good point that this might breed it's all in the hands of the player. If you're a good, nice player and you explain the rules carefully, make sure your opponent knows what's coming down the pike, then that's cool. But like a player that wants to hardcore game and win, this is a lot of opportunity to pull the wool over your opponent's eyes and trick them.
Yeah, especially Sloth. Or not Sloth, Greed, I gain scoring. Like, Like, I could see a lot of games where it's like, why is the miser by this objective turn after turn after turn? And then you're like, oh, I guess just because he's obnoxious and stubborn. And then turn 6 comes around and you're like, oh no, he's scoring now. Like, we've hit the 10 sin cap. The miser's scoring. I actually have the OBJ, so I'm going to get secondary here.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That's
yeah. There's a lot of opportunity there's a lot of opportunity for gaminess, which is a bad thing.
And also, this is not a book where if either player's been drinking is going to lead to a very smooth game. You're like, oh no, so now you have stubborn but can't use your general. And they're like, what? Like, no. You have power stance now. Like, I need you to understand what's going on.
Well, okay.
Or you're at 12 sin and don't know. So I don't know. I think this list would be really fun at the tournament, especially at a team event.
Oh yeah,
where you
for sure.
have a bit more time to explain. But I think the burden of explanation really falls on the player for this.
Yeah, I agree. I think of all the supplemental books, I think this is the closest for me to be like, maybe this shouldn't be in tournament play. But also I'm of the mindset, like, let's get all the stuff, let's get all the options in there in tournament play we can. So I'm erring on the side of this should be in tournaments, but I'm a little bit apprehensive too.
It's close.
Yeah.
This one and the cultist one are both can be fairly confusing. The difference is the cultist one is not good and confusing.
Yeah.
And this one could be potentially broken and confusing. Which is a little bit worrying, but I think the best way is just heavy, like, field test it in a tournament.
Yeah.
If the main thing is complaints about this book was unfun or this book didn't make any sense and I feel like I lost my game because of it, then that's the takeaway, where it's like, oh, this book was just another book in another team. Okay. Like, that was the feedback for Asplanders of the Infernal Zoo a little while ago, was Alex Harrison put a cap on wargs at the zoo, and that was kind of the end of it. Like, Asplanders are fine after you cap the wargs. So that was after one tournament we figured it out.
I think definitely, it's... Go ahead.
I think if you let them in for teams, I'll convince someone on my team, or I might just do it to bring them, and we'll see
how it goes. Yeah.
Maybe I'll convince Josh to bring him in. We'll just see if he can even understand his censure.
Oh God. No, yeah, and you make a good point that this book needs to be tested heavily, because it is basically 7 new army books. And so it's multiplying the need for balance by 7. So yeah, I don't know, I haven't decided yet officially, but for the North American Team Championships, I'm leaning toward including it, but it's not an official statement. So
and also the perfect thing is now there's 5 supplemental books. So
you could do an all supplemental book. Team, I love it.
Team supplement. Let me know.
That would be awesome. Okay.
Someone has to play Makar cultists, which is unfortunate, but.
Well, Joel has got a cultist army. He can play it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. That's the book review. Thank you so much for joining us, Henry. Thank you for jumping on the call with me. I really appreciate it, as always.
Love to come on.
They say this on the Paired Weapon podcast, and I'll say it here too. You're a joy to listen to, and you know your stuff, which is great. Hell, if anyone's still watching, please hit that like, hit that follow on Twitch. All the junk. It's all in the description below. I really appreciate it, and we will all see you next time.
Thanks.